Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. It has been a very long time since our last video. Actually, I think it's been close to about a month now. So obviously, we have not been making videos lately. We've all been busy with the holidays, and really, we also had our Sam, who has been on the podcast with us for some time here. He has stepped away from the podcast. I don't know if or when he will be coming back, but he has stepped away. So now it's between me, Calvin, and Jacob, and we have all been very busy lately. And so this is really a hobby for us. We don't do this obviously for a living. We all have different jobs. I obviously work at Walmart. Jacob's a pool store manager, amongst other things. He has another job, I believe, now too. Kelvin's got his own stuff that he's doing. So we've all been very, very busy lately with holidays and jobs and all that. But we're getting back into the swing of things. We're going to be bringing in some more videos, and the first one will be the final, actually, college football playoff rankings. The selection show was just yesterday, and guess who made it? Yes, sir. The Michigan Wolverines are in the playoff. Outstanding job by Michigan to end the season, obviously, with wins against Ohio State, first of all. Incredible win. That was an outstanding game by Michigan. And then the absolute annihilation of the Iowa Hawkeyes to win the Big Ten conference. Absolutely massive for the Wolverines to be able to accomplish that. And now they find themselves in their first ever college football playoff, playing the Georgia Bulldogs in the Capital One Orange Bowl. So that will be, I think it's the Orange Bowl. I don't know if it's like Capital One or whatever it is, but it's the Orange Bowl. So huge game for Michigan. Obviously, you can see who the top four is. You got Bama at number one. The Wolverines stayed at number two. Bama, of course, gave Georgia its first loss of the season, which put Georgia down 2 spots at number three. And the first ever Group of 5 team, Cincinnati, ranks at number 4, just ahead of the team that they beat this season, Notre Dame, putting them in the college football playoff, taking on the Bama Crimson Tide. Cincinnati has a decent team. They also do not play in the good conference, and they're playing Bama. I'm happy for Cincy. They had a fantastic year. I mean, they're the only undefeated team in all of college football. And yeah, they did beat Notre Dame. So I'm not surprised that they made it. But if you're a Cincinnati fan right now, I can't even fathom what a Cincinnati fan feels like now. You finally get into the college football playoff. They've always been crying and whining about them not being in the playoff, that they should be in the playoff, and this year they finally get in, and they get stuck with Bama. And I do not see this going well for the Bearcats. But first ever appearance for Cincinnati, and first ever, of course, for Michigan, and the second ever for Georgia, and then Bama's been like every other playoff. So Number 5, we have Notre Dame, who just missed out on that playoff spot. Only they could have beaten Cincinnati. If they had beaten Cincinnati, they would be in. Cincinnati would be like 9, 8. Oh, they wouldn't even be 9. It'd probably be more like 11. But Notre Dame just misses out on the playoff. Ohio State jumps up 1 spot after Baylor, who's number 7, takes down Oklahoma State in the Big 12 championship game. That was an embarrassing game, especially by Spencer Sanders. Not a good game by him. But speaking of Oklahoma State, they dropped 4 spots to number 9 in the country, losing the Big 12 championship to Baylor. Number 7, Ole Miss, staying right in between. At number 8, that's going to be a really good bowl game. Obviously, Baylor Ole Miss, being the Sugar Bowl. Big 12 champion Baylor playing the highest SEC team, not in the playoff, being Ole Miss. Should be a really fun game. Notre Dame will get Oklahoma State in the Fiesta Bowl, so that'll be another interesting game as well. So quite a few actually good games to look at. So we'll see how those go. I don't have much faith in Oklahoma State, especially after what Spencer Sanders did against Baylor. I love Spencer Sanders, but if he does anything like that again against Notre Dame, they're going to get destroyed. Ohio State, of course, the top ranked Big Ten team, they will get Utah in the Rose Bowl, of course, part of the New Year's Six. Obviously, of course, so is Baylor, Ole Miss, and Oklahoma State, Notre Dame. The other New Year's Six Bowl is Michigan State and Pitt. You can see Michigan State there at 10, Utah 11, and then Pitt at number 12. So we have a decent we have some decent New Year's Six bowls. Baylor, Ole Miss could be interesting. I think Ohio State will destroy Utah. Pitt, Michigan State is going to be a shootout. Notre Dame, Oklahoma State. That really depends on what Spencer Sanders plays like. But that is the top 12. Those are all the New Year's Six bowls. And then we have the rest of the top 25 here. You got BYU at number 13. The Oregon Ducks at number 14. Actually, today, news breaking that Mario Cristobal will be heading to Miami, Florida to take over as the head coach there after Manny Diaz got fired by the Hurricanes. All kinds of massive movement in college football. And we will have an episode once all the craziness of head coaching finally gets resolved and everybody gets their new head coaches and most of this stuff comes to an end because there's still a lot of programs like now Oregon doesn't have a head coach. There's still a lot of programs that need brand new head coaches. Oklahoma, of course, just got Brent Venables from Clemson, their defensive coordinator, brought him over to be Oklahoma's new head coach. So a lot of movement going on in college football. We will wait until really the season's over and all the coaching finally gets resolved before we actually go into depth about the Lincoln Rileys, the USCs, and the Brian Kellys to LSU, and Bryant or Billy Napier going to Florida and all that stuff. So a lot of stuff to unpack in all those different power moves by big conferences, big teams. But Oregon, number 14, after getting creamed yet again by Utah. 2 straight weeks getting creamed by the Utes. Not a good look for Oregon, but they go down to number 14. Iowa, after getting smoked by Michigan, drops to number 15. Oklahoma dropping to 16. Did not play in the Big 12 championship game, of course. Wake Forest going down number 17. Oregon, Oklahoma actually will be playing each other in a bowl game this year. They play in the Alamo Bowl. That should be a very, very fun game, considering that neither team is going to have their head coach for that game. I mean, yes, Oklahoma did get Brent Venables, but he won't be there for that game. It's going to be Bob Stoops. And for Oregon, they won't have their head coach either. So should be a lot of fun. But Wake Forest, number 17. NC State, number 18, stays in their position. Clemson, number 19, moving up a spot. Houston at number 20. Even though they lost, they still move up. I won't understand that. Arkansas moving up one spot. Kentucky moving up another one. Louisiana Lafayette moving up one as well. San Diego State, after getting destroyed by Utah State at home in their conference championship, drops 5 spots to number 24. And Texas A&M remains 25th in the country. So that is your final. That is the selection top 25. I think it was pretty clear cut who was going to make the playoff, considering what Bama did to Georgia and that Cincinnati, Michigan both won their games. I think it was pretty obvious who was making it and who, wasn't. I mean, Oklahoma State lost too. So really, and Notre Dame had lost to Cincinnati. Ohio State wasn't even in a conference championship game, and neither was Ole Miss. So there was absolutely no drama for who the top four would likely be, unless they for some reason decide that Cincinnati's win over Notre Dame didn't mean anything, like they did with Michigan and Michigan State earlier in the year. But otherwise, that's it, everyone. So thank you for listening. This is obviously our first video in a long time. We will be bringing to you actually all of our picks for all the bowl games. There are pretty good, sizable 44 of them, since there are 88 bowl eligible teams. So there's a lot of bowl games to be picking. They had to actually add one this year because there are two more bowl eligible teams. Then there was more bowl eligible teams than there actually were games. I think there was two extra or something like that. So this should be a very good season. There's a lot of really good bowl games. We will be picking those on a separate episode. But that's it for this episode. Very excited to see Michigan in the college football playoff. It could be very good or very bad against Georgia, but we will see how the Wolverines play in that game, and we'll also witness Cincinnati's crucifixion against Alabama. So that's it for me. Until next time, adios, everyone.